Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent, and this week I'm joined remotely by James Blair, and we're going to be discussing our top 5 tips for lockdown.
Well, this is a little bit unusual, isn't it, Mike?
It is.
I mean, when you lose all normality, it's nice that we still get to do this. And look, I'll give you a quick tour. I'm in my backyard because I couldn't find any decent lighting. We've got a couple of lemon and lime trees around there,
Nice.
and setting up shop. I'm using a stool and my laptop. It's all good fun. How's the shore treating you?
It's not. You better hope it doesn't rain. For everyone who's listening on Spotify or Apple iTunes, you can't actually see, but James is sitting outside, and it is quite a cloudy day. So
It's very cloudy.
If it rains, you're just gonna have to work through it. How's the North Shore treating me? Well, I've shaved my hair off, so that's something. I'm the most aerodynamic I've ever been, but I'm ready for this. It's not too bad. We did a few months of lockdown back to back when we were in the UK, so this is nothing new. So yeah, hopefully it's over soon though.
Yeah. For those who are watching on Apple or Spotify, even for a second, you've got to jump on YouTube and check out Mike's new haircut. He has aggressively gone with a razor on his head. It looks actually you pull it off quite well.
Yeah, thanks. It's definitely lighter. It's definitely lighter when we're doing those midday PT sessions. I can get that extra burpee in because I don't have that half kilo of hair to mess around with.
Yeah. So today's episode is our top 5 tips for lockdown. The idea behind this is everyone's in a very different situation at the moment. Firstly, anybody with kids, well done.
Yeah.
It's based on only from the Zoom calls I'm taking. It's pretty intense at the moment. So I don't want to use the word spare time too loosely because some of you will be like, what are you guys talking about? I tell you, someone who is enjoying lockdown though, Mike, is Harry the pug. He's in the best shape of his life. He's doing 3 walks a day, 10 Ks. He's getting ready for summer.
He's going to have some separation anxiety issues when this is all over.
He will. But so once again, if you've got kids, maybe you don't have as much spare time, but there are certainly those who have a bit of spare time on their hands where you can't really do anything except for work and do stuff around the house and spend time with people in your bubble. And I hope everybody in their bubble is safe and doing okay, and hopefully we'll get through this as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
But today is all about 5 tips when it comes to your money, because when there's not that much going on, there's a chance to reflect and think about what can we do? How can we make the most of this time? So we thought we'd give our top 5 tips to make the most of your lockdown from a financial perspective. So Michael, you have tip number 1 when it comes to how to make the most of a lockdown. What is it?
I do. And I think if you watch last week's episode, you'll see that actually I made a very bold prediction and almost dismissed it that rates were going to go up and very quickly. And the Reserve Bank held off on raising the official cash rate. So I was completely wrong. We're only a week out. But I think what that is sort of important to point out is, our long-term prediction hasn't changed. Interest rates are still going to rise. They're still going to rise over the next 12 months, 24 months. What this sort of gives you, the fact that the Reserve Bank has held off on raising the official cash rate, what that sort of gives you is a bit of reprieve if you missed out on rejigging your home loans before that ride was meant to happen. Now is a good time to sit down, look at the home loans, think, are they structured correctly? Do I need to restructure them? Is there a way that I could better price them? So could we fix for a longer period to give us some protection against rising interest rates? And maybe keep some on a shorter term as well to bring down that blended interest cost. And really have a look at them and think, is now the time to do something about it? a lot of our customers at the moment are doing this, and they've been able to break their shorter term fixes and fix for longer periods without any break costs or really minimal break costs, maybe just an admin fee to break the loan. So yeah, while we've still got some time until the next official cash rate announcement, now's a good time to really take a look at those interest rates on those home loans and think, are they working for me? And are they going to work for me over the next 12 months, 24 months, 5 years?
Yeah. So if you are not sure kind of what's right for you in your situation, talk to your bank, talk to a mortgage broker, talk to Mike to make sure it's all right. It's going to work for you. Mike, we're in a position at the moment where we just don't know how long we're going to be locked up for. Do you think, and I know this is very crystal balling, but hey, we just did the predictions episode. Do you think it'll change, like interest rates will continue, we say they're going to move over the longer term or the medium term? If we're in lockdown, say for a month, do you still think they'll be increasing, say, over the next 12, 24 months?
Difficult to say when they're going to increase, but I still predict that they will increase over the next 12 to 24 months. All of this is going to depend on the effects on the economy as to the timing. When do they start making those jumps? But you've already seen that the ANZ went out ahead of the official cash rate announcement and raised their interest rates, and they pulled them back a bit because obviously the cash rate didn't move. So my thought around that is, and this sort of comes back to a phrase that we use quite a bit when we're talking about property investment. It's time in the market as opposed to timing the market. What is the downside risk of trying to eke out a couple more weeks or another month on the interest rates you've got at the moment? Is you might miss the boat altogether, and then you're stuck on these rates, and you're going to get caught out when your existing rates roll off, and you're going to be on higher interest rates. So, I think act now. We can all see what's going to happen over the next 12, 24 months. Get it sorted now. Don't wait, otherwise you could potentially miss the boat.
Cool. Okay, so it's tip number one. Sort your home loan, get those interest rates down.
Yeah, but it may not just be home loan interest rates. It might be the repayment cycle. There's all these sorts of things that go along with that when you are restructuring your home loans. You might want to put it on an interest only period if the lockdown is sort of impacting your cash flow and that sort of thing. You might think, next 12 months, why don't we go interest only just to ease off on the cash a little bit? And there's risks to that as well. But really what I'm trying to get across here is now's the time to have those conversations with your broker, with your banker, about getting that sorted and making sure it's right for the future.
Yeah, and you just alluded to a point there, Mike, that I think is really important to nail home in the current environment. I've certainly spoken to a few people who aren't working at the moment, and they might be contractors or their pay's really getting hit, and who knows how long we're going to be in our current flux for. If somebody is feeling the pinch, who should they go and talk to? Like, is the bank the right person to go and talk to get some relief on the mortgage repayments, or where should they go?
Yeah, if it's go and speak to the person that you are engaged with for your lending. If you've got a broker, speak to the broker straight away. Your broker might say, in this instance, you need to go talk to the bank. And sometimes that's not about the broker passing the buck. It's about sort of how badly you're feeling the pinch and who you need to speak to at the bank. Regardless of who you speak to, whether it is your bank, your broker, if you have a personal banker, something like that, the important thing is to have the conversation early. With home loans, with mortgages, with any sort of debt, the worst thing that we see is when people put their head in the sand, and when they go, it'll fix itself, and they do nothing. And then by the time they come and speak to you as the banker or the broker, there's really you've run out of options. If a loan is in default, that limits the amount of options that bankers have on it. If you're overdrawn on the or if you're behind on payments already, all of a sudden you're narrowing your field of options. I just think that the earlier you have those conversations, the better. Even if you're not in a pinch, but you can see yourself heading that way, start the discussion. Banks have pretty long turnaround times at the moment. By the time you get a response, you may be feeling it. So it's better to engage early.
Awesome. Okay. So my first tip and tip number 2 is get your plan sorted. So as a financial advisor, I am the man with a plan, and I might help you with your plan, or you might sort out your own plan, and that's completely fine. Hopefully this is the last opportunity where we're stuck inside for a long period of time, touch wood, that we all live busy lives. Things are moving quick. We're in the daily grind. We don't get that chance to think longer term, reflect, plan, talk to our significant other and go, Michael, where do we want our future to be in 5 or 10 years? And it's a really good chance, slightly dangerous, because if the conversation doesn't go well with the other person, you're stuck with them. But but really important to make the most of it and go, when I'm thinking about planning, is starting long term and going, if we see ourselves, we're 30 now, when we're 40, in 10 years time, where do we want to be? What do we want our lives to look like? Are we still in the same house? Are we doing the same kind of work? Are we in the same city? Planning all of those things out. And then once you've got kind of a long-term dream, then breaking it down, putting some numbers behind it. So we're talking 10 years. This is the dollar figure lifestyle we want. These are the incomes we want to be earning. We want to travel. We want whatever it is that's important to you. You put some dollar figures around it, and then working out, well, what do I need to do now to get ahead? What's a step I can take today, which small consistent steps over time get you towards your goals?
Yeah, absolutely. And are you hearing people wanting to put off their plans because of lockdown? I know I was speaking to someone yesterday who was sort of talking about a financial plan. He was saying, should I wait until after we're out of lockdown? Do I do one now? Like, was pretty hesistant about it.
Well, I appreciate you plugging me, Mike. That's always appreciated. but you got that email, right? Yeah? It depends on your situation. So if you're in one of those roles where your incomes change, I completely get why you'd want to put it back a little bit. If you're in a salaried role and you're pretty confident that your financial situation will remain the same, as I said, you're not going to get that chance to, go, what are we going to do this weekend? I'm sick of playing Monopoly and fighting with the kids. It's a good chance to have those conversations about the future, which, if they're had in the right way, are actually quite a lot of fun and quite motivating.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's tip number 2, is making sure you plan out your future, work out where you want to go and what you need to do today. Michael, tip number 3.
Yeah, cool. So I sort of started talking about this before, so I'll continue down that vein. Your short-term debt. Now is the time to take a look at your short-term debt. James is saying that some of the planning conversations can be fun and quite motivating. This is never going to be a fun conversation. If you've got too much short-term debt, it's horrible to look at, but now's the time to look at it and think, what's going on here? Am I paying it down? Is there a better way we can structure this? Do I need to put it on the mortgage so I'm starting to make some repayments? Do I drop the credit card limit? Am I spending too much on Afterpay? It's really a time to sort of take stock, look at the interest rates, look at the costs, and just think, is there a better way I can do this? And usually the answer is, surely there is a better way I can do this. Just a quick thing to sort of note there is, if you are putting it on the mortgage, if you think, I've got 15, 20, 30K sitting on this credit card or these credit cards, I'm paying too much interest on them, I'm not making any headway. If you are going to put it on the mortgage, just think about the term that you're putting it over. Think about how much you're paying at the moment. If you can continue to make those repayments, but at a lower interest rate by putting it on your mortgage, it's good to try and maintain that same repayment level. What you don't want to do, or what you want to be wary of, is putting it over 30 years, but paying it off over 30 years. Because in some instances, you'll end up paying more interest over that time period. So just be mindful of that. I'm not saying don't put it over 30 years, because you want to make sure that your minimum repayments on things aren't too high, so you can drop the repayments back down should you get in trouble, or because it will reduce your future borrowing capacity if you're into investment properties and those sorts of things. But yeah, definitely think about it. Think about putting on the mortgage, bringing that interest cost down, and making sure you pay it off quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect one where, once again, in the day-to-day grind, very easy to put your head in the sand when it comes to those short-term debts. So make sure that you it's always tough to confront your situation and go, what am I going to do? How am I going to improve this? But coming up with a plan, like it might be the longer term plan, it might be the shorter term plan around how do I get rid of these debts? When, I'm going to clear them over 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever. I'm going to get it down to this interest rate. I'm going to talk to somebody who can actually go, did you know you can get it down to this interest rate? Because if you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly. And when you look at, 16%, 17%, 20%, 25% interest rate compared to 2%, 3%, 4%, it's a no-brainer. It's just a difficult conversation to have. And it's difficult to look at them and go, okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong here. Maybe I need to change something and do it right. Difficult to do, but worth it in the long run.
Nice. Okay, so tip number 3, tackle those short-term debts. Tip number 4 is
Jimmy,
all about.
what do you got?
A few weeks ago, we spoke about on number 9 and number 10 on the to-do list, and that we never get around to them. The wills, the life insurance, the income protection.
People are depressed already. Don't talk about it.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, it's the only time you're going to get it done. So if you do not have a will, or if you have not updated your will in a long time, go get it done. You can. Lawyers, when they're forced to be, not by choice, they can actually be quite accommodating when it comes to using Zoom and having those conversations over the phone. Touch base with a local lawyer. A will should cost you $300-400. You're probably saving that in coffees and lunches at the moment. Go and get your will done and make sure you have that conversation, because it's one of those things that's really important to do. In addition to that, have the conversation around life insurance and income protection. Get some quotes. Talk about what you would want to happen in the situation where you would get sick or where you would pass away, and make sure that this is the protection side of your financial planning. So it's like the foundations of your house. If you do not have these things sorted, when a storm comes, it'll all get washed away. So make sure you make the most of it. A will is probably, 2 30-minute, 1 hour conversations, depending on the complexity of your situation. And you can talk to someone like myself or an insurance advisor and get it sorted within a couple of hours. So, you probably have the time at the moment. Go and get it done.
Yeah. And so you mentioned a couple of things in there, the insurances, the will. Let's say I'm time poor, I've got kids, I've got a job, I need to get I can only pick one of them. Which one are you going to tell me to do?
Geez, that's not a choice to make. I don't want to make that choice. Like, if you think about it, right? if you think about it, if you don't have life insurance and you die and you've got a mortgage and a family dependent on you, your family's stuffed. So that's pretty bad. If you get sick and your family's dependent on you, you don't have income protection, then you're stuffed. If you don't have a will, there's going to be mass confusion when you die. So you need all three. Find half a day to get it sorted and just do it.
Okay, I'll make the pick for James. I'll say insurance is first, then will. Catch me on fair go. No, I'm joking. He does make a really good point. All of this stuff does need to be in place. It's up to you to get it sorted and make the decision as to how you allocate your time. But just because you are short of time doesn't mean you should put this off indefinitely, because it just, it can really impact you when things go wrong, or your loved ones.
Nice. So that's tip number 4. Get the boring stuff done. Go get the life insurance. Go get the will sorted. Mike, our very final tip number 5. What have we got?
Well, I'm gonna use some tech talk here from back in my days in the fintech industry. When the market zigs, we zag. I'm going to tell people that if you are thinking about an investment property, that now is the time to start looking for one. You've got some time in front of the screen, you've got some time at home. Check out a bit of Trade Me, check out the what developers are coming up with in terms of their new releases and those sorts of things. Do some numbers on the investment property, look at the ROI, have a chat to your broker, have a chat to developers, register your interest in developments if you want to, and really have a look and see what's coming on the market. As I usually predict, and as I continue to predict, I still think that the housing market is going to increase over time, and that the earlier you are in, the better. We're still directing people towards new builds if they're pure play investors. So I just think, when you've got a bit of time at home in front of the screen, now's the time to do some research and some due diligence and really think about that investment property.
It makes me think, Mike, about the very first lockdown. And my dad. My dad's not the kind of guy to stay still for very long. He's always wanting to get on and get something done. So I think it was maybe when we went from level 4 to level 3, the man didn't need a new house. Like, he was quite happy where he was, but he ended up going to about 10 open homes at private viewings a day with masks on and all that kind of stuff. And ended up buying a house, and then was like, oh crap, there's still my current house. So I'm slightly worried about my parents going into another level 3 with not much to do, but I'm going to get that phone call being like, hey, James, we bought a house, just had to find someone to buy a current house.
Yeah, it's we're seeing our level of inquiry sort of increase, and I think it's a combination of a few factors, but one of the other things is actually people are sitting in front of the screen and they are looking at their own house and thinking, oh, I want to upgrade, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, and it may be that you're not sort of wanting to sell your house and shift and do all that stuff during lockdown, but putting your name down for an investment property, or having a look into the market and doing some due diligence and running the numbers and thinking, can we make this work, can actually sort of pay dividends in the long term, if you are going to get into the market. So I think while you've got some time, have a chat to someone, have a chat to your broker, have a chat to your banker, run some numbers, see what's out there, and just see what you can do, if it's the right option for you, and can you make it work.
Yeah, and before you go too far down the rabbit hole of looking at lots of different properties, or what about this, what about that, when it comes to specific properties, go and get the approval first. The approval is not a commitment to buy a house. It's a commitment to looking, right? So make sure you there's no point in wasting all the time if the broker's just like, no, you can't borrow. So make sure you engage with someone like Mike, your local broker or a bank, and find out what you can do. And then, as Mike said, educate yourself. It's a really good time to be thinking about these things, and long-term buy and holds over 10, 15, 20 years, if you've got the cash flow to support it when interest rates rise, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay, so there are our top 5 tips for lockdown. I'd love to hear in the comment section or by email, letting us know how many of those you've ticked off. Make sure to join us next week. We've got a very special guest joining us next week, so you'll have to look out for that one. I'm very excited about next week's episode, Mike. Most likely to be us doing it this way again, but that's all right. We'll make the most of it. We'll
get it to work.
Yeah, I'm also pitching Mike hard. He hasn't signed up yet for us to do a long form podcast. We'll see how we go there.
Yeah,
I got you over the line yet,
Maybe we'll do the Joe Rogan special where we just sit around for 4 hours, talk rubbish, and hopefully something comes. Maybe we'll get that $100 million Spotify contract that we've always wanted.
I feel like it's only around the corner.
I've almost got the Joe Rogan haircut for it. So
hey, you got a lot more hair than Joe Rogan. So make sure to check out next week. If you haven't subscribed, if you're on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. It really helps us, I guess, improve our reach and help inform more people about making better financial literacy decisions. If you're on Spotify or Apple, make sure that you're giving us a review. That really helps us as well. And we'll see you next week to do it all again.
Cheers.